Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us again today. As I said yesterday, we are encouraged by how well the reopening has gone so far. The health and safety of Missourians will always be our first priority, but as we move forward, we must also begin to increase our focus on economic recovery. Restarting the economy was dependent on healthcare capacity and getting the virus under control, and I am confident we have done just that. We're glad to see Missourians begin to safely re-engage in the economy, and we are thankful for the businesses across the state that have stepped up and implemented new measures to keep employees and customers safe. COVID-19 has had major impacts not just on public health, but also our economy. If you remember a week ago, I mentioned that PPE Marketplace my administration created was recognized by the White House as a best practice around the country. Yesterday, we received a call from the Supply Chain Task Force inquiring about Missouri's manufacturers that are producing PPE and the interest in utilizing American manufacturing to fulfill PPE orders and decrease our reliance on such items from overseas. This is an incredible promise. This is incredibly promising, not only because it shows President Trump's administration is following through again on an effort to revitalize American manufacturing and American businesses, but some of the businesses that may be helping are Missouri companies and small businesses, and that is exciting news for our state. Although we have some hurdles to overcome, Missouri is headed in the right direction. Through May the 1st, Missouri has 78,733 businesses receiving a total of $9.24 billion in Paycheck Protection Program assistance from the Small Business Administration. We are also continuing to explore opportunities within federal stimulus funds to assist businesses with training and workforce needs as they modify operations and make accommodations due to COVID-19. The Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development is launching the Recovery Mode campaign on May the 18th, focusing on the following items. Missouri Job Centers will pivot in the coming weeks from assisting the Department of Labor with unemployment claims to helping Missourians skill up and get back to work. Many people receiving unemployment benefits will qualify for training programs. Team members from the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development will be available to help Missourians find and enroll in training opportunities. Short-term training programs from Missouri higher education institutions that will allow Missourians to quickly earn a certificate of industry-recognized credentials will be highlighted. We will host virtual job fairs, help Missourians update their resumes, and most importantly, find meaningful employment. Recover Mo will also include a regional approach to safely reopen job centers to staff and the public. Also, the Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development received word on May the 11th. They will receive an emergency $1.3 million grant for COVID-19 disaster recovery from the United States Department of Labor. The grant will help the department target dislocated workers across the state. It will be allocated to the local workforce development boards for their local response. The grant will create temporary employment opportunities in humanitarian work such as healthcare workers, contact tracing, and other work directly supporting COVID-19, temporary employment for job center services and training opportunities. The grant money will be awarded on June the 1st to the department and will be available to the local workforce development boards within 45 days. Missouri citizens and businesses are eager to get back to work. And now more than ever, They need our support to get back on their feet. Economic Development Director Rob Dixon and his team have worked very hard to create a broad-based plan that drives the economic and community recovery across Missouri. This business plan never loses focus on businesses, communities, citizens, and infrastructure, and we will continue to focus on these areas as we move forward. Director Dixon is here now for an update on Missouri's economic recovery plan. Rob?
Thank you, Governor. You know, the word unprecedented has been used to describe just about everything related to COVID-19, and that's because just about everybody that's alive today has never experienced anything like this. The impact of COVID-19 on our economy has been unprecedented too. Unlike almost every other economic shock that our nation has faced, this one was not caused by economic conditions. Financial systems didn't fail, bubbles didn't burst. Instead, it was the public health threat itself that brought our thriving economy to a standstill. We know that our way forward in terms of public health and in terms of economic recovery are linked together. In fact, they are two sides of the same coin, and that's why our economic recovery efforts are rooted in our public health response, as the governor outlined. Last week, Governor Parson announced the beginning phase of our Show Me Strong recovery plan, which allows for the responsible and safe and gradual reopening of economic and social activity in Missouri. That plan was based on 4 healthcare pillars: expansion of testing, increasing PPE reserves, adequate hospital capacity, and the ability to use data to predict the future course of the virus. We have provided information on these in recent press briefings, and you can find the detailed data and analysis at health.mo.gov. But it's because of these pillars that we are able to gradually reopen our economy today, and I wanted to talk a little bit about why that matters. You know, last week, the federal government announced that the national unemployment rate was nearly 15%. And that means that nearly 22 million Americans have been put out of work since the COVID-19 state of emergency began. The state-level data will be released soon, but I think the trends will be somewhat similar in our state. Some industries have been hit particularly hard, including retailers, restaurants, manufacturers in particular, but no community in Missouri has been unaffected by the economic impact of this. And that's why the governor's Show Me Strong recovery plan is so important. It provides a path forward to safely and responsibly engage in economic and social activity in our state. The virus is not going away anytime soon. We're going to have to learn how to safely and responsibly conduct business in this era of the new normal that we're facing. If businesses, employees, customers, if they all continue to practice good mitigation techniques like social distancing, like modifying the physical workspace, additional sanitation, shifting work schedules, and things like that, we'll be able to engage in additional economic activity. As we continue to monitor the data and watch this changing situation around us, we can look toward the next phases of our economic recovery efforts. Governor Parson has asked that every state agency continue to work together as we do so. Across the entire administration, state agencies are working together to develop and institute resilient and sustainable economic initiatives that promote prosperity in our state. And as was outlined when we initiated the Show Me Strong recovery plan, we are focused on helping Missouri's citizens, communities, businesses, and infrastructure. This is not a short-term recovery effort, and it will always be connected to our ability to deal with the virus. In the next phase, we're going to continue to drive forward by increasing the resiliency of our state. And that's because we need to continue doing business even before a vaccine is ultimately developed. So that means we'll be looking at plans and policies that can be carried out both in the private sector and in government. We'll be looking at opportunities for nonprofit organizations and philanthropic efforts, and we'll continue working with our local government partners. The Show Me Strong recovery plan provides a path forward, and you can find additional information online at showmestrong.mo.gov. Thank you.
Rob, thank you for what you and the department over there has done, economic development, the many roles you've taken on as director this year and your people that we've asked you to do so many things during this time, and I appreciate it because, as we all know, just a little over 60 days ago, we were probably riding one of the highs that we've ever had in the state of Missouri when we were Actually, the economy was going, and we were doing a lot of things in this state when it comes to jobs and infrastructure. And here we are today, but I'm confident those days will be back. Those days will be back because of what we're doing in this state. I just want to say I appreciate everyone for listening again today. And as I conclude, I want to again thank many Missourians for their efforts and commitment to Missouri during these times. And we must all continue to work together to move Missouri forward. Last night I had the opportunity to see the news, which I hadn't seen for, seemed like a long time. And they had different states of the way the people were acting in the states, whether it was on the beaches on the East Coast or whether it was big groups together on the West Coast in different parts. And I'm thankful that I live in Missouri. I'm thankful for the people that have common sense. I'm thankful for the people that work hard every day and do what they're asked to do. And that's why our state, I feel like, is so much better off than a lot of states around us. It's simple because people do what they need to do to protect themselves. And when you really look at it, what I've seen over the last 60 days, how important that is for all of us to do what we're asked to do. And we take that upon ourselves as citizens to do that. And, you know, over the last 60 days or so, there's been many things said, pro and con, about the way you do this job sometimes and how things occur. There was a gentleman that sent me a little note for well over a month now, and I just want to mention him and say thank you. He's from Cape Girardeau, and his name's Doug, and he has sent me notes in the mail since March defining words of encouragement for my staff and me. Yesterday's note is one that I want to share with all of you. And the word he used yesterday was intentional. And the definition of intentional: deliberate, planned, intended, purposeful. And it goes on to say, certainly, these are words that describe your team's action during these trying times. The way your staff presents themselves does wonders to instill the challenging to be safe, not scared. Winston Churchill said, "We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give." It is plain to see what you and your staff are giving as you help to move us through this crisis. And I want to thank Doug for sending that, because believe me, there's been other notes that's not been so flattering that we received at this office. There's one thing I do know, the old saying, damned if you do and damned if you don't. I've lived that scenario for over 60 days. This office has, and the people that work here. Every day we tried to make decisions on what we thought was best for the state of Missouri. Not because sometimes what the media thought we should do, not what social media thought we should do. We tried to get the data that was in front of us to make the decisions that we made every day. And I'm thankful for those decisions, what we did make, and how this state conducted itself. And let me say this, it wasn't government that made Missouri so good during this last 60 days. It was the people of this state that abided by what they were asked to do. And government didn't have to tell them to do that. People are smart enough to know, I need to be careful. I need to take risk out of the game plan. I need to take care of one another. And as I see that throughout the state and continue today as we go into the recovery process, it just makes me know how proud I am of the people of this state and for what they really stand for when I look at other states around us and what that's meant. So with that, I just want to recommend to everybody, encourage you to keep up social distancing. We still got to fight this virus, and we still got to open up this economy. And I am confident Missourians will do both, and we're going to be better off in the days to come. So let me just finish by saying thank you. Thank you to all Missourians, and God bless. And also, Dr. Williams with us here today for questioning. So, Kelly, if you want to open it up for questioning for Director Dixon or Director Williams, it's open up.
I have a question for Director Dixon. And so when you say that there's going to be workforce development funds coming out, how will you decide how to allocate those to different localities in those 45 days?
Sure. So the programs that the governor outlined are actually overseen by the Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development. So their agency will work with our local workforce investment boards, the colleges and universities that oversee those funds. So they will do that according to our workforce demand. Overall, as the governor talked about, all state agencies are focused on driving resources, whether it's federal, state, local, whatever it is. We're trying to make the most strategic use of the resources that we do have available to us. And obviously, getting Missourians trained and retrained was important before COVID-19. It's going to be even more critical after the period that we're in right now, because fundamentally the way of doing business is going to change. And that means we're going to have new skills that need to be taught. Folks are going to have to learn basic things that they didn't have to do before to get back to work. So that's how that will be handled. Thanks.
Yes. I will just say very quickly to reiterate what Rob and the governor said. Today we only had 88 new cases. Yesterday we only had 74, so we think we're trending down. And as the governor said, that's really a tribute to the people of Missouri. We can set a path, been very intentional, but the people have to follow it, and they've done. So the credit for that goes to those people who've done that, and we're just incredibly appreciative for that. Thank you.
Thank you. One other thing to clarify what Dr. Williams just said too, there was a spike in deaths today. You've all reported that, I see out there, but that was due to one of the counties in the state not turning in that death information for, I think, was it a week or two? Was it a week or two behind? A week or two behind, so that's what it was. But the good news is things are trending in a positive direction in the state.
Governor, on the issue of Missouri companies manufacturing PPEs, there's been some debate in the legislature over whether Missouri companies should be given tax incentives to do that. Do you think that that's something that's needed to produce enough PPE for what you're looking at?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's early to decide whether you do anything like that or not. I think the main thing is that I think is so encouraging is the federal government is looking at Missouri to be one of those manufacturing states. And if we know anything about the federal contracts that we see, most of those contracts are long-term. A lot of times they can be 15, 20-year contracts. So that gives an ability for people to invest in their own businesses. But you know what? Those business opportunities will be just like anybody else coming to this state. If we've got something to expand that, we want to help businesses here. Let me just say what we should be focused on right now. We should be focused on getting people back to work. Over 400,000 people on unemployment. I think those numbers are kind of starting to creep down a little bit, which is also good news. But we got to figure out how to fight the COVID-19. We got to bring our economy back. Those three pools right there should take priority of anything else. So how we get jobs back, how we the incentives and all of that kind of stuff. Look, right now we need to get everyday Missourians back to work. We need to get our businesses up and going, and whatever that takes, we ought to use all means we have in the toolbox to do it. All right. Thanks, everybody, today for being here, and look forward to seeing you back tomorrow. Thank you.